"Don't stop," the Apache girl murmured. The rancher took it the wrong way, and that night changed everything. Two moons hung low, casting pale light over the land. The ranch sat alone on the plain, a patch of human effort in a world that did not care if people stayed or left. Eli stood near the fence, listening. The wind had stopped. That alone felt wrong. Dry Creek was never quiet. The air always moved. Machines always hummed. The soil processors clicked and breathed like sleeping beasts. But tonight there was nothing. No sound. No vibration under his boots. Eli frowned and checked the small scanner on his wrist. Power levels were normal. Life support systems were active, yet the silence pressed on his ears. "Great," he muttered. "Another mystery." He turned toward the barn, ready to call it a night, when a soft flash of blue light caught his eye. It came from the far edge of the ranch, near the old ridge where nothing ever worked right. Another flash followed. Not lightning, a signal. Eli's shoulders stiffened. Out here, signals meant trouble. No one came to Dry Creek by accident. The ranch was too far from the cities, too far from the space lanes. If something had landed or crashed on his land, it meant paperwork at best and disaster at worst. He sighed, grabbed his coat, and climbed into the crawler. The vehicle moved slowly over the uneven ground. Eli kept the speed low. He knew every dip and rise of this land. His parents had taught him to respect it, not rush it. Machines could be replaced. Mistakes could not. As he reached the ridge, the crawler's lights revealed something unexpected. A woman lay on the ground near a tall metal structure half buried in the soil. Eli slammed the brakes. The structure was old, very old. He recognized it at once, though he had only seen images in archives. An atmospheric harmonizer, a prototype model, experimental. Abandoned years ago when the project failed. "What are you doing here?" Eli whispered. He jumped out and ran toward the woman. She was alive. Barely. Her breathing was shallow. Her clothes were scorched, not burned, like they had been hit by energy, not fire. A cracked visor lay beside her. Dark hair spread across the dirt. Her face was calm but pale, like she had given up fighting. Eli knelt beside her and checked for a pulse. It was weak but steady. "Hey," he said softly. "Can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered. Her lips moved. Eli leaned closer. "Don't," she whispered. Her voice was dry, almost lost to the air. "Don't stop," Eli froze. "Don't stop what?" he asked, confused. She didn't answer. Her hand twitched slightly, pointing toward the harmonizer. The machine hummed faintly, a deep sound that felt more than it could be heard. Lights along its surface flickered in strange patterns. Eli's scanner beeped in warning. Radiation levels were unstable. Protocol was clear. Shut it down. Immediately. Eli stood and moved toward the control panel. The harmonizer was damaged. Cracks ran along its frame. Energy leaked into the ground. If it failed completely, it could poison the land for kilometers. He reached for the emergency shutdown. Behind him, the woman stirred. "Please," she whispered again. "Don't stop." Eli hesitated. He looked back at her. Her eyes were open now, dark and focused despite her pain. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't begging for her life. She looked afraid of something else, afraid of the machine stopping. "Why?" Eli asked. She tried to speak, but no sound came. Her grip tightened on the dirt. Her breathing grew uneven. Eli's hand hovered over the control. If he shut the machine down, he followed the rules. He kept his land safe. He avoided trouble. If he didn't, he risked everything his family had built. He thought of his father, who used to say, "Rules are written by people who don't live with the land. Listening comes first." Eli pulled his hand back. "Okay," he said quietly. "I won't stop it. Not yet." Relief crossed her face. Then she passed out. Eli swore under his breath. He rushed to stabilize her, using the med kit from his crawler. He sealed burns, checked vitals, and wrapped her in a thermal blanket. She was strong, trained, not a drifter. A symbol on her jacket caught his eye. A stylized bird with wings spread wide. Apache. That was not a tribe name out here. It was a call sign, a role. systems engineer, frontier tech specialist, the kind of people who worked on projects others abandoned. "What were you doing with this thing?" Eli asked the knight. The harmonizer's hum changed. The ground beneath Eli's boots vibrated gently like a slow heartbeat. He stiffened. Grass near the machine, grass that should not exist on this world, shifted. Tiny green shoots pushed through the soil. Not fast, not unnatural, just steady. Eli stared. "That's new," he whispered. His scanner went wild. Atmospheric balance improved by 0.3%. Soil toxicity reduced. Water retention increased. Impossible. The harmonizer wasn't supposed to work like this. The project had failed because it forced changes too quickly. Planets broke under that kind of pressure. But this wasn't forcing anything. It was adjusting, listening. Eli felt a chill run down his spine. The woman groaned softly. He turned back to her. "You did this, didn't you?" She didn't answer. Eli made a decision then. He loaded her carefully into the crawler and set up a portable shield around the harmonizer. If authorities detected the energy spike, he would deal with it later. Right now she needed help. As the crawler moved back toward the ranch, Eli glanced at the ridge one last time. The land looked different, not transformed, not conquered, awake. That night Eli did not sleep. He sat beside the woman as she rested in the ranch infirmary. Machines beeped softly. Outside, the wind slowly returned, gentle and warm. Near dawn, she opened her eyes. She looked at Eli, then at the ceiling, then back at him. "You didn't stop it," she said hoarsely. "No," Eli replied. "I didn't." A small smile touched her lips. "Good," she said, "because if you had, this planet would have gone silent forever." Eli swallowed. "My name is Eli," he said. "This is my ranch." She nodded slowly. "Tala Yazi," she replied. "Call sign Apache." She closed her eyes again, exhausted. Eli leaned back in his chair. Outside, the soil processors clicked back to life. But now they sounded different. Less like machines, more like answers. Morning arrived slowly at Dry Creek Station. The sun, a pale orange globe, rose behind the purple clouds. Eli Navarro was already awake, sitting by the window of the small ranch house. His coffee steamed quietly beside him, untouched. Outside, the wind whispered across the fields, and the soil processors hummed softly, like the land itself was breathing. Tala Yazi, Apache, lay on a cot in the corner of the room. Her breathing was steady now, and the slight rise and fall of her chest told Eli she had slept deeply. He studied her quietly. This woman had arrived on his land in the middle of the night, barely alive, and now she seemed connected, not just to the harmonizer but to the world itself. Eli took a sip of coffee, letting the warmth seep through his hands. The ranch felt different this morning. Alive. Attentive. He couldn't explain it, but the soil beneath his boots seemed to hum faintly, as if it had something to say and was waiting for him to listen. "Morning," Tala said suddenly, her voice rough but firm. Eli turned, surprised. She was sitting up now, leaning slightly on the cot, her eyes sharp and bright despite the exhaustion. "Morning," he replied. "Coffee?" She shook her head. "No time for coffee, we have work." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Work? You mean fixing the harmonizer?" Tala's eyes widened. "Fixing it? No, I mean understanding it. You just kept it running, but you have no idea what you've done." Eli frowned. "I know it's alive, I saw it changing the land." Tala shook her head. "It's more than that, it's listening. The planet, it's listening too. And it's only listening to us because you didn't stop it." Eli stared at her. The words sounded impossible. Planets listening, machines alive. He wanted to ask more, but he didn't want to interrupt her. Tala stood, though carefully, and walked to the harmonizer, her eyes scanning every panel and wire as if she could read it with her mind. "This is extraordinary," she said softly. "The data says it shouldn't work. The original project failed because the planet resisted every artificial change. But here," she paused, her hand hovering over the control panel, "here it listens, adjusts, learns, and it responds." Eli stepped closer. "Responds how?" Tala gestured toward the ridge beyond the ranch. Look outside, the soil, the grass, the water content. Everything is improving in ways we can't predict. Normally, this would take decades, maybe centuries, but now it's like the planet is thanking us. Eli squinted. He had noticed it too. The barren patches near the harmonizer were greener. Small shoots of grass and wildflowers had started to appear where nothing had grown in years. Even the air felt cleaner, warmer, somehow lighter. Why me? Eli asked quietly. Tala's gaze softened. Because you didn't stop it. You trusted your instincts instead of following the rules blindly. The harmonizer needs humans who are unpredictable, imperfect, emotional, people who can improvise. Eli shook his head. Improvisation, that's what saved the planet. Tala smiled faintly. Yes, sometimes human intuition works where technology alone cannot. You kept the harmonizer running when all the data said it would fail, and now, she paused as if listening to something invisible. Now it's alive, and it's listening. Eli felt a shiver run down his spine. He looked at the machine. It was humming softly, lights flickering in patterns he didn't understand. A strange warmth radiated from it, gentle but powerful. Can it talk? He asked. Tala shook her head. Not like we talk, but it communicates. Through the soil, the air, the plants, through patterns. It learns from what it senses, and it adapts. Eli's mind raced. All his life he had worked the land with machines. He had been careful, methodical, following schedules and rules. And yet here was something that defied every formula he knew, something that responded to the human heart as much as the human mind. Why did no one finish this project? Eli asked. Tala's face darkened. Because it's dangerous, powerful. The original team underestimated the planet. They tried to control it instead of listening. They failed, and then they abandoned it. The harmonizer was left to rust and the knowledge was lost, until now. Eli rubbed his forehead. And now we have it, just you and me. Yes, Tala said, and we have a choice. What kind of choice? Eli asked. Tala stepped closer. We can use it for ourselves. Corporate teams will come. Scientists, governments. They'll want to control it, weaponize it, exploit it, or we can protect it. Teach others to work with it, to understand it. Let it help the land, not destroy it. Eli looked outside at his ranch. His family had worked this land for generations. It was tough, unforgiving, lonely, but it was theirs. And now somehow it was different, better, alive. All right, he said finally. We protect it, but how? Tala smiled faintly. By understanding it first, by learning from it, and by trusting it in ourselves. The morning passed slowly. Eli and Tala worked side by side, examining the harmonizer. She taught him how to read the readings, how to notice the subtle changes in the soil, how the energy flows shape the life around them. Eli, in turn, shared his knowledge of the land, of plants and water and weather. Together, they formed a strange partnership, human intuition meeting alien technology. By midday, the first real change appeared. A small patch of soil near the harmonizer sprouted tiny green shoots faster than any natural growth should allow. Eli knelt beside it, touching the leaves gently. It's real, he whispered. Tala nodded. Yes, and it's responding to you, Eli, not just the machine, you. Eli looked at her, puzzled. Me, she smiled. Your presence matters, your choices, your decisions. That's the HFY factor, Eli. Humans bring adaptability, creativity, and emotion to situations machines alone cannot solve. That's why the harmonizer is alive now. Because you acted when logic said stop. Because you listened instead of following rules blindly. Eli felt a strange pride, not for himself but for humanity, for the capacity of people to do more than just survive, to create, to protect, to understand. The hours passed. The sun rose higher, casting gold across the fields. Slowly, life began to return. Small insects appeared. Water pooled naturally in low areas. Grass spread further than it had in decades. And still, the harmonizer hummed, gentle and steady, listening, learning. Finally, Tala sat back against the machine, breathing deeply. We've done more today than the original project ever accomplished in months of testing. Eli wiped sweat from his forehead. And tomorrow, Tala said, we learn more, we explore the limits, see how far it can go, and we stay ahead of those who would exploit it. Protecting the land, not conquering it. That's the human way. That's why we are needed. Eli nodded. He looked around at the fields, at the rising sun, at the strange harmony of machines and nature and human will. This night, this moment, had changed everything. The planet was alive. The harmonizer was alive. And for the first time, Eli felt that humans had a place not just on this land, but in shaping the future responsibly, with care, patience, and understanding. Outside, the wind picked up again, gentle but insistent. The soil processors hummed in rhythm with the harmonizer. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between sound and silence, the planet whispered back, listening, learning, and waiting for the next human choice. Eli smiled faintly. "Don't stop," he whispered to himself, echoing Tala's words from the night before. "We won't stop." Tala looked at him, understanding exactly what he meant. And together, they turned their eyes to the horizon, ready for whatever the land, the harmonizer, and the universe had in store for them next. For the first time in years, Dry Creek Station felt like more than just a ranch. It felt alive. And so did the people on it. The next morning, the sky over Dry Creek Station was clear, bright, and unusually still. Eli Navarro stepped out of his small ranch house and let the cold morning air fill his lungs. The night's work with Talayazzi, Apache, was still fresh in his mind. The harmonizer hummed softly on the ridge, almost like it was breathing. Eli walked toward the device, careful not to disturb the green shoots that now carpeted the ground nearby. Each small leaf seemed to pulse with life. He knelt down and touched the soil, amazed by its richness. He had worked this land for years, following strict routines and old rules, but nothing had ever felt like this. This was different, alive in a way he could feel. Tala emerged from the small infirmary carrying a portable tablet. "Morning," she said, her voice calm but filled with urgency. "We need to analyze the changes. The harmonizer isn't just stabilizing the environment, it's communicating." Eli frowned. "Communicating with whom?" "Not with anyone," Tala said, placing the tablet on the edge of the ridge. "With the planet. It senses our actions, our choices, our presence. It responds, but only when we interact with it in ways it understands. It's learning, adjusting. If we do something wrong, it corrects itself. If we do something right, it improves the land." Eli ran his hand through his hair. "So it's alive." "Not alive like you or me," Tala replied, "but in a way that matters, a system that listens and adapts. One that rewards human intuition." Eli stared at her. "Human intuition, that's what saved it last night," Tala nodded. "Exactly, you chose not to shut it down. You followed instinct, not rules. That's the HFY factor, the thing machines alone can't replicate. That's why the harmonizer finally worked." Eli felt a strange pride, not for himself but for humanity, for people capable of patience, creativity, and care, for people capable of listening and understanding. Tala tapped the tablet, pulling up the readings from the night. Graphs and lines showed how the soil composition had changed, how water retention improved, and how plant growth accelerated beyond natural expectations. "Look at this," she said. The harmonizer adjusted the soil, the water cycle, even the air composition. And it did it gradually in a way that doesn't shock the planet. Nothing dies, nothing breaks, but everything improves. Eli bent closer. "It's beautiful." Tala smiled faintly. "Yes, but there's more. If used incorrectly, this power could destroy everything here. That's why we must be careful. The wrong hands would see this as a tool, not a responsibility." Eli's brow furrowed. "And the right hands?" "The right hands are humans who understand responsibility, people who can improvise, care, make decisions without destroying the balance. That's why it responds to us." The hum of the harmonizer grew louder, almost as if it agreed. Eli's heart raced. He realized that this device wasn't just a machine, it was a teacher, a partner, a mirror for humanity's best qualities. For hours, Eli and Tala worked side by side. They mapped changes in the soil, noted how water pooled naturally, and observed plants growing faster than they should. Tala taught Eli to read subtle signals, the way light reflected off the harmonizer, the faint vibrations through the ground, the patterns in the growth of plants. Eli noticed something amazing. Tiny insects, barely visible, had returned. Grasshoppers hopped across the chutes, bees buzzed in the distance, and small birds chirped above. The land, once quiet and empty, now felt alive. "This is amazing," Eli whispered. "All this from one machine?" Tala shook her head. "Not from the machine, from us. From your choices, from the fact that humans can listen, adapt, and act. That's why it works." Eli looked at her, still not fully understanding. "You make it sound simple, but it's not. We could ruin everything by accident." Tala's eyes softened. "That's the risk. But that's also the lesson. Humans can succeed where machines fail because we can learn, adjust, and care. We make mistakes, but we correct them. That's why the harmonizer responds to us and not a program." Eli nodded slowly. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him. This wasn't just his land anymore. This was something much bigger, a connection between humans and a living world that no one else had understood. Hours later, they paused to eat a simple meal of dried meat and bread. Eli stared at the ridge, watching the harmonizer hum, its lights flickering like tiny stars. "Do you ever think," Eli asked, "that this intelligence, the one in the harmonizer, could be conscious?" Tala shook her head. "Not conscious in the way we are, but aware, responsive. Learning, that's enough. That's all it needs. And it's more than any human could have done alone." Eli felt a strange thrill. For years, humanity had relied on machines to survive harsh worlds, machines that followed programs, schedules, and rules. But here was proof that humans could do more than just survive. They could guide, teach, and create life where nothing existed before. Suddenly, Tala pointed toward the ridge. "Look!" Eli turned. A small area of soil had shifted again, and tiny plants were sprouting faster than before. The harmonizer's lights flickered in a new pattern. Tala tapped her tablet, eyes widening. "It's adapting," she whispered. "It's responding to our methods. The soil, the water, the air, it's creating a balance we never thought possible, and it's learning from us." Eli felt a surge of awe. He knelt beside the sprouts, brushing his hand over the soft leaves. "We're making a difference, real difference." Tala nodded. "And that difference matters. That's why we have to protect it." Eli's mind raced. "Protect it from what?" "From people who don't understand," Tala said. "Corporations, governments, even scientists. They'll see this as a tool for profit, not a responsibility. They'll take control, run it with programs, and destroy the balance. Only humans who can listen and adapt should be here." Eli's gaze hardened. He understood now that the ranch was no longer just land. It was a sanctuary. A place where humans could show what they were capable of, their best qualities: care, patience, creativity, and courage. They spent the rest of the day mapping and recording. By evening, Eli was exhausted but exhilarated. The land was alive in a way he had never imagined. The harmonizer's soft hum matched the rhythm of his heart, as if the land itself acknowledged his presence. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Tala spoke quietly. "Tomorrow, we start testing limits, see how much influence we have. But we must remember, one wrong step could undo all of this. The planet is powerful, and it will resist if we try to dominate it. We must cooperate, guide, and listen." Eli nodded. "We won't stop. I understand now. It's not about control, it's about partnership." Tala smiled faintly. "Exactly. That's the lesson. Humans working with a living system, not against it. That's what HFY really means. Our greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology, it's our ability to care, adapt, and understand." Night fell. The harmonizer's glow lit the ridge in soft blue. Eli and Tala watched in silence. Around them the land seemed to breathe, the soil pulsing faintly, the new plants swaying as if in rhythm with their thoughts. Eli whispered almost to himself, "Don't stop." Tala glanced at him, understanding perfectly. "We won't," she said, and for the first time Eli truly believed it. They had not only saved the ranch, they had discovered a truth far greater, that humans could do more than survive, that humans could shape life itself. Not by force but by care, not by rules but by listening, not by control but by partnership. The night at Dry Creek Station was quiet but alive, and Eli knew that tomorrow the real journey would begin, because the land was waiting. And humans, flawed, unpredictable, brilliant humans, were ready to answer. The sun rose slowly over Dry Creek Station, painting the sky with streaks of gold and pink. Eli Navarro was already awake, standing on the ridge, staring at the harmonizer. The machine pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat, its blue lights flickering in gentle patterns. The land around it looked alive, more vibrant than he had ever seen. Small plants grew taller and faster than expected. Insects hummed in the early morning air, and water pooled naturally in the low areas. Talayazi, Apache, was beside him, tablet in hand, reviewing last night's data. She looked serious, her brow furrowed as she scrolled through the readings. "Something's happening," she said quietly. "Not everything is under our control." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" Tala pointed at the tablet. "The harmonizer's response patterns are changing. Slowly it's testing us, adjusting more than we expected. It's like it's asking questions. Are we ready to handle this? Can we work with it responsibly?" Eli swallowed. "So it's learning from us but also testing us." "Yes," Tala said. "It listens, it adapts, and it measures our actions. If we make mistakes, the land suffers. If we act wisely, it improves. This is the first real test of trust." Eli looked at the fields. The green shoots swayed gently in the breeze, almost as if they were alive and aware. For years, humans had tried to tame worlds with machines and programs. They had conquered, destroyed, and reshaped without thinking. But here, the rules were different. "Then we have to be careful," Eli said. "Every choice matters," Tala nodded. "Exactly. And we have to understand the limits before anyone else arrives. Corporations, governments, they will come if they discover this. We can't let them exploit it." Eli took a deep breath. He remembered the night she had arrived, barely alive, whispering, "Don't stop." Those words had saved the harmonizer, and now they guided his choices too. For the next few hours, they worked side by side. Tala explained how the harmonizer adjusted soil chemistry, air quality, and water balance. Eli shared his knowledge of local plants, irrigation patterns, and natural cycles. They experimented cautiously, observing how the harmonizer responded to different approaches. At first, the changes were small, tiny green shoots, slightly richer soil, water flowing more evenly. But as the day progressed, the harmonizer's responses became more dramatic. New species of plants appeared, insects returned in greater numbers, and small animals cautiously explored the revived land. Eli knelt and touched the soil. "It's incredible. I never imagined anything like this." Tala smiled faintly. "Neither did I. But it's more than just the land. It's teaching us about patience, about care, about how humans can work with life, not against it." They paused for lunch, eating in silence as they watched the land transform. Eli realized that for the first time he felt part of something bigger than himself. This ranch, his home, had become a laboratory for understanding human potential. But as the sun climbed higher, a faint hum reached them, not from the harmonizer, but from the ridge itself. Eli squinted toward the horizon and saw a small ship descending from the sky. Its lights glimmered in the morning sun, and its shape was unfamiliar. Tala's eyes widened. "Visitors. We weren't expecting anyone yet." Eli felt a spike of tension. The land had just begun to heal, and now outsiders were arriving. He stood, brushing soil from his hands. "Do you think they know about the harmonizer?" Tala shook her head. "Not yet, but they will, and if they do, they might not understand. They might see it as a resource to control, not a living system to protect." The ship landed on the far edge of the ranch. A ramp lowered, and two figures stepped out. One wore a uniform that looked official but unfamiliar. The other carried a small scanner. They walked toward the harmonizer cautiously, as if expecting it to explode or react violently. Eli stepped forward, raising a hand. "Stop! This land is private. What are you doing here?" The uniformed figure looked surprised but not hostile. "We're here on behalf of the Planetary Council. Reports of unusual energy readings brought us. We mean no harm." Tala stepped beside Eli. "We know, but this isn't just energy. This is life. You can't control it with scanners and orders." The council representatives hesitated, scanning the land and the harmonizer. Eli noticed the slight twitch of curiosity in their eyes. They were scientists, not soldiers, but their approach was cautious, controlled, calculating. "The readings are off the charts," the scanner said. "This technology, its impact, is beyond any known prototype. It's anomalous." Eli nodded. "Yes, and it's alive. You can't just take it and run programs. You have to listen, adapt, care." Tala added, "Humans are the key. Without human intuition and understanding, the harmonizer cannot function properly. You will destroy it if you try to control it." The uniformed figure frowned. "We have protocols. We must study this. We cannot ignore such potential technology." Eli's jaw tightened. "Potential isn't enough. You need responsibility, and responsibility means humans who can care for the land, not just measure it." Tala took a step forward. "Let us guide you. Learn first. Only then can you interact. Otherwise, you risk undoing everything." The representatives exchanged glances. They seemed to understand, though they did not fully trust it. One nodded slowly. "Very well, we will observe, but closely." Eli exhaled, tension leaving him slowly. The first test had arrived. Not from the harmonizer, but from outsiders who did not yet understand the bond between humans and the living system. For the rest of the day, the council representatives followed Tala and Eli, observing their work, asking questions, and taking careful notes. Eli demonstrated how he watered the land, tended plants, and monitored soil health. Tala explained the harmonizer's systems, showing the subtle ways it responded to their choices. By evening, the visitors had learned enough to understand one important truth. The harmonizer could not be forced. It could not be dominated. It responded to human care, attention, and judgment. Tala turned to Eli as the representatives left for the evening. "They saw enough to know they can't rush it. They understand at least a little that it's alive in a way they cannot control." Eli nodded, exhaustion washing over him. "It's a start, but tomorrow will be harder. They'll test it more, push it further." Tala smiled faintly. "And we'll be ready. Humans have patience, adaptability, and creativity. Those are things no program, no protocol can match. That's why we're needed." The night came quietly over Dry Creek Station. The harmonizer glowed softly, the land pulsing with life. Eli stood on the ridge, looking out over the fields, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of discovery. He realized that humans were capable of more than survival. They could nurture, guide, and create life where none existed. And for the first time, he truly understood what Tala meant when she spoke of HFY, the greatness of humanity. Not in weapons, not in dominance, not in control, but in care, creativity, and the courage to make choices that respect life itself. As the stars appeared in the sky, Eli whispered, "We won't stop, no matter what comes." Tala stood beside him, her gaze steady. "We won't, because the land is alive and it listens, and because humans can do what no machine ever could." Together, they watched the stars, ready for the challenges ahead, knowing that every choice they made would shape not just the land, but the future of humanity's place in the universe. The morning light over Dry Creek Station was soft and calm. Eli Navarro stood on the ridge, gazing at the harmonizer. The device pulsed gently, a steady rhythm like a heartbeat, as if it were alive and aware of their presence. Around it, the land had transformed. Grass had grown taller, wildflowers swayed in the breeze, and small animals explored freely. The air felt clean, vibrant, and alive. Tala Yazzie, Apache, was already working, carefully checking the harmonizer's readings. Her tablet glowed softly in her hands, showing graphs, patterns, and data streams. She looked up at Eli. "Today is the final test," she said quietly. "We must prove that humans can guide this system responsibly. If we succeed, this land and this planet will be ready to thrive. If we fail, well, we can't afford to fail." Eli nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. For days they had nurtured the land, observed the harmonizer, and carefully guided its growth. But today, outsiders, scientists, council representatives, and observers would see the results. Their decisions could determine the future of Dry Creek Station, and perhaps even influence how humans interacted with living systems across the galaxy. Tala placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. "Remember, it's not about control, it's about care, patience, and understanding. We guide it, not force it. Humans are needed here, not machines." Eli took a deep breath. "I understand, let's do this." The visitors arrived mid-morning. Their ship landed quietly on the far edge of the ranch. This time there were more of them, scientists in clean uniforms, technicians with portable scanners, and council officials. They approached carefully, wary but curious. Eli met them at the ridge. "Welcome to Dry Creek Station," he said. "What you'll see here isn't just technology, it's a partnership between humans and the land. Watch, observe, but don't interfere. You'll see why humans are necessary." The visitors nodded, some skeptical, some intrigued. Tala stepped beside Eli. "We'll demonstrate carefully. The harmonizer responds to human choices, intuition, and care. We'll show you what it can do when guided responsibly." For hours they worked. Eli guided the irrigation, carefully controlling water flow. Tala monitored soil chemistry, adjusting the harmonizer gently but never forcing it. The visitors observed, taking notes and asking questions. Slowly, the land responded. Small green shoots sprouted faster than expected. Flowers bloomed where none had grown in decades. Water pooled naturally in the low areas, feeding plants and attracting insects. Birds and small animals appeared, exploring the revived fields. Eli knelt beside the harmonizer and touched the soil. "This is incredible," he whispered. "I never imagined life could return so quickly," Tala smiled. "It's not just the machine, it's the combination of human care and the harmonizer's response. That's what makes it alive. That's what humans bring to the table." The council representatives exchanged glances. They could see the results. They could see life returning, plants growing faster than ever, and the harmony of the ecosystem restoring itself. Slowly, understanding dawned on their faces. One of the officials spoke. It works, but it cannot function with programs alone." "No," Tala said firmly. "It needs humans to guide it, make decisions, care for it. Machines can calculate, but they cannot adapt like humans. They cannot listen to the land the way humans can. That's why it works here." Eli nodded. "Our role isn't control, it's partnership. Humans can do what no machine alone can do." The visitors observed in silence as the harmonizer pulsed gently, adjusting to the humans' choices. The land responded with subtle changes. Plants grew taller, water flowed evenly, and even the air seemed cleaner. Everything was balanced, thriving, alive. Tala turned to the visitors. "Do you understand now? Humans are not just survivors. We are caretakers, guides, and teachers. Our intuition, creativity, and care are what allow life to flourish. That's the HFY principle. Humans can shape life responsibly, in ways machines cannot." Eli looked around at the land he had worked for so long. His family had struggled here for generations, And now, thanks to this partnership, the ranch was thriving like never before. He realized that humanity's true strength was not in machines or weapons, but in the ability to care, to observe, to understand, and to adapt. Hours passed. The visitors left in the late afternoon, impressed and thoughtful. They had witnessed something extraordinary, something that could not be controlled, only respected. Eli and Tala watched the ship ascend into the sky, feeling a quiet relief. The harmonizer continued to pulse softly. Around it, the land thrived. The grass swayed, flowers bloomed, insects and animals moved freely, and the soil shimmered faintly with life. The partnership between humans and the planet had been proven. As night fell, the sky darkened to deep purple and stars appeared, scattered like diamonds across the vast expanse. Eli stood on the ridge, looking out over the transformed land. Tala joined him, her eyes reflecting the light of the harmonizer and the stars. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it. The land is alive and humans proved their role." Eli smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment deeper than any he had known. "Not just us," he said. "Humans, people who care, people who listen and adapt." "That's what makes the difference," Tala nodded. "Exactly, that's the lesson. HFY isn't about conquest or control. It's about understanding, guiding, and protecting, and that's what we've shown here." The harmonizer's lights pulsed gently in the darkness, casting soft blue shadows across the fields. Eli knelt and touched the soil again. The ground felt alive beneath his fingers, warm and vibrant. Life had returned not by force but by care, partnership, and human intuition. Eli whispered almost to himself, "Don't stop." Tala placed her hand over his. "We won't stop. We'll keep guiding it, protecting it, learning from it together." The night was quiet but full of life. The stars sparkled above, the wind whispered across the fields, and the harmonizer hummed like a heartbeat. Around them, the land thrived. Eli realized something profound. Humans were capable of more than survival, more than technology or conquest. They could nurture, guide, and create life where none existed before, and that was the true greatness of humanity. He looked at Tala and smiled. "This is only the beginning," she nodded. "Yes, tomorrow we continue." And every day after that, we prove that humans can shape life responsibly, with care and understanding. The harmonizer pulsed gently as if agreeing. The land glowed softly under the starlight. Eli and Tala watched in silence, knowing that the night had changed everything. The ranch, the planet, and the future of humans in the galaxy had been transformed. For the first time, Eli felt a deep sense of peace. Not because the work was done, but because he understood the role humans were meant to play. Not masters, not conquerors, caretakers, partners, teachers, listeners. And in that moment under the vast sky, Eli whispered again, louder this time, "Don't stop." And Tala, standing beside him, echoed the words, smiling. "We won't." The land hummed, the harmonizer glowed, and the night at Dry Creek Station was alive. Humanity had proven its place, not through power but through care, understanding, and the courage to act responsibly. And so, a new chapter began. One where humans, guided by intuition and compassion, worked with life itself, shaping a future full of growth, harmony, and possibility. The night had changed everything. And for Eli, Tala, and the land they protected, the journey was only beginning.